Hello and welcome once again to Enlightened Changemakers TV. I'm your host, Anne Aleckson, and it's my absolute pleasure today to be bringing you a conversation with Michell Mercer. Michell is a certified holistic pulsing practitioner and teacher, and she has spent over 30 years in northern New South Wales as a teacher of basic counselling and communication skills, so important, a group facilitator of women's parenting, various self-awareness groups, eventually moving to the Sunshine Coast to care for her sister and parents as they transitioned. Now, Michell has been actively involved in assisting at many births and deaths over the last 30 years. And from this, of course, she has gained invaluable experience and information that she lovingly passes on to others. After her mum passed, Michell moved to Bali to take some care for herself for a little while, and she's been there on and off for the last 3 years. And we're going to talk a bit more about Bali and what draws so many people to it in the time that we spend together. So during that time, as well as lots of travel and relaxing and having fun, Michell found the time to develop her business, Relax, Relate, Rejuvenate, and created her new website. And she continued to teach her workshops when she returned to Australia. March 2020 came, as we all know, COVID struck, and Michell needed to return early to attend the birth of her 5th grandchild in Cairns, and she eventually found herself back in her hometown of Lismore, where she is joining us from today. During her 2 weeks quarantine on her return, she transformed the Level 1 workshop into an online course and is now sharing holistic pulsing online in a totally new way. Michell is a very intuitive, fun and engaging therapist and facilitator who enjoys every facet of her work, and we are going to have lots of fun in this conversation. Michell, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Anne. It's lovely to be here.
I love that you took some time for yourself in Bali, Michell, after your mum passed. So I've always been fascinated with Bali and the amount of people in the spiritual and healing arena who travel there, who live there, who love the place. So I'm very interested to know, what is it about Bali that draws you to be there, and what do you love so much about Bali?
All right. So, the first time I went there was about 10 years ago, and I tacked a month onto the end of another trip I did for my 50th birthday. So I didn't really want to go to Bali at first, but my brother was living there at the time, so I thought I'll give it a go. And I made a conscious effort not to go to any of the touristy spots, and I was very lucky to be able to stay out in the village. So I got to see the village life, and and I got to know the people. And like you said, it's very interesting that a lot of people who are in the spiritual world end up there, and I think it's because the Balinese people are Hindu, and we share a lot of the same principles and values, and it's very much about loving each other and caring for each other. And I guess the people just are so friendly, they're so beautiful. They just take you in without, judgment, which I think is big. And,
Beautiful, yes.
Yeah. And, I just fell in love with the place, and I just kept going back there. So through the times when I was caring for my parents, I took, I'd take a couple of weeks and just respite, and I would just go over there and just, relax, and I'd feel refreshed enough to come back and continue the job. So
fantastic, yeah. A great self-care practice. I'm curious now that you mentioned that you didn't want to go to Bali. Tell me about that, because I myself am someone who, I have travelled and I've actually lived most of my life overseas in the same sort of environments in tropical countries like Papua New Guinea. And so I'm curious, I myself have this little thing of, I don't want to go to Bali.
Mm.
And I've always been curious about why I feel like that. So you mentioned that you didn't want to go there. So I want to know what was going on there.
Well, I think I just heard all the, seen all the media in Australia about Bali, and it just showed Kuta Beach and, that whole, the young people
Yes, the young
getting
drunken
breakfast. And,
culture.
yeah. So, I thought all of Bali was like that. I didn't know much else about it. Um, so that put me off, obviously. I just sort of like, I don't want to go and do that. But like I said, I was able to stay with my brother and in a village, and it was a whole different
Get a
ball game.
get a real day
Yeah,
to day lived experience of it, I guess.
yeah,
Fantastic. What
yeah.
is
It's
it
a
about the
beautiful
people? Yeah, it is a beautiful country, but what is it about the people? Because they're very, very special. You know, people talk about the people, about how beautiful they are,
country.
and what do you think it is about the people that really makes us feel that way about them?
Well, like I said, a lot of the similar sort of beliefs around family and connection and community and looking after one another, and uh, they're incredibly grateful people. They they basically have nothing compared to what we have, but they they find happiness and joy every day in their life, and they're very much in the moment, very present. The like they said, they go to the market, they get their breakfast, their daily things. So they're right in the moment, and yeah, they're just really friendly, just really loving. Every day they start their day with a blessing. So they do a blessing for the lower gods and the higher gods. And yeah, I love all that ritual and ceremony and everything that they do in that, because it's been a big part of my life as well, is
Yeah,
ritual and ceremony. Yeah.
there's certainly lessons in that for all of us, isn't there, around daily gratitude and around being in the now moment and being in the flow of life rather than rushing
Yeah.
to push past into the next thing, which is what we are so fond of doing here in the Western world.
We like to have control, we think that we're in control when we're not at all. But
Yeah, the illusion of believing, of thinking that we are in control, absolutely. I love it. So
mm,
tell us what's been happening since you've been back. What's going on? How hard was it for you to come back and kind of, I know you came back for the grandchild's birth, and you were coming back at some point, but you had to bring it forward a little bit because of what was going on with this situation that we found ourselves in the world.
yeah,
So tell me, first of all, how you made that transition back. You had to spend 2 weeks in quarantine by
yeah,
yourself. There's a lot of people having to do that right now, and Melbourne's gone into a bigger lockdown, level 4, I think it is.
yeah.
So what can you share that might help others just by simply hearing your story of what happened for you while you were in those moments of being alone for that in that period of time?
Yeah, it was a big shock actually, because I was only coming back for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden I knew I probably wasn't going to get back to Bali. So I had to pretty much completely change my whole life in 1 week, and pack everything up and store it, and then jump on a plane, and got to Cairns, and then I was just in this room by myself for 2 weeks. So uh,
How did you cope with that?
yeah, it wasn't easy. And, like by the time I got to day 14, I was raring to get out that door and go and
Let me
get
out.
coffee. But I think I just dealt with it by connecting to family and friends. And I had a little Facebook group that I hadn't done much on, and I thought I'm going to reinvigorate that. So that's called Shell Space, and I actually, it's like creating community. So it was a a group that, you know, brought people together. And I just started posting daily and doing little lives, and people really loved it. They were just coming on, and it sort of got us all through that period of time. And so I just tried not to dwell on the fact that I was couldn't go out the door.
Yeah.
And my kids would call me daily, so I would have contact with the family, contact with the people on Facebook. And then I thought I might as well, you know, all my workshops had been cancelled, so I thought I better make good use of my time. And
so you had been doing up to this point live in-person workshops?
Yeah.
Right.
And I have one plan to do in Cairns as well. So I already had people interested for that workshop. So I just, you know, suddenly thought, okay, I need to make this online, and I don't know how that's going to work or how I can do it, but let's have a go. So
it's a hands-on modality, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's very much a hands-on modality, but it is also there's a lot of life tools that are involved that you can use to you know, move yourself forward in your life. So it's not just about the actual hands-on part of it. It's there's a lot more involved. So I thought, well, I can share that stuff with people. And very luckily, I had a DVD that I made many years ago that had demonstrations of the pulses through the workshop. So I split that into sections and added it to the course so that they get a bit of a video where they can watch me pulsing and follow along to it.
Yeah.
And I did live Zoom calls, and
that's brilliant.
so
innovative of you, instead of sitting back like you know some people did do, and say, well, my business is over, you know. So yay, congratulations, that's really amazing. What I'd love to know though at this point is a little bit more about holistic pulsing. Tell us what it is exactly, and whatever else you want to share about it, because I don't know a lot about holistic pulsing.
Okay, so, well, it was developed probably 30 years ago, and it was developed to incorporate like the feminine principles of softness and gentleness into a hands-on therapy, so that you weren't just dealing with the physical, we were dealing with the emotional and the spiritual. So, you know, that as in holistic. So the pulsing side of it is like it's a gentle rocking and stretching. So the person lays on the table, fully dressed, and then I'm doing the pulsing to them. But it's a two-way thing, and so I'm moving my body, and then the movement comes through me and into them. And the rocking, it just creates a place of safety immediately. It sort of takes people back to their womb experience of being in water, being gently rocked. And it's in that place of safety that people can actually let go and start to like, you know, release trauma from their body.
Okay, so it's about releasing trauma. So what sort of results can people expect to have from something like that?
Well, it's different for every person, yeah. You know, like if some people just come to be for relaxation.
I imagine it would be very relaxing.
Yeah, it's like the most relaxing therapy there is, actually. The central nervous system is hypnotized into letting go. So almost immediately your body will just let go and relax.
Oh, sounds heavenly. So I'm just really kind of feeling the experience here. Beautiful.
This is the one thing with the online, is that the feedback is that, we just want to experience it.
Yeah. So, well, if you describe it like that, I can see why. Fantastic.
Yeah, so like, you know, as you lay there, you know, then like I say, you can, because usually with every physical ailment there will be an emotional trigger to joined to that. So
Right.
yeah.
So someone
The,
might come to you, for instance, and say, I've had this back pain, I've got sciatica pain, I've had this such and such pain forever. And so the way that you would work on it is to do the pulsing, which will touch the emotional part of it. And once that releases, the pain doesn't
can
need to
definitely.
be there anymore.
It basically gives awareness. So as soon as we have awareness, we have the opportunity to, well, it already has changed with the awareness of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So often, a lower back pain, may be connected to a lack of support or, having to be the strong one or,
Yeah.
lots of stuff like that we take on and, becomes part of us,
Yeah. Are those awarenesses something that arises from within the person as they're having the pulsing, or is that something that the practitioner helps
It's
them to come to?
like the principles with pulsing are that we're not here to fix people. We accept them as they are, warts and all. And it's with that acceptance that then people feel comfortable enough to
Safe.
actually start. So, I use gentle prompts, I guess, to help
Right.
people maybe come to some awareness.
Mhm.
But it's better for them to come to that awareness, obviously, than to, it's no
Yes, of
use.
course.
I mean, people walk in, I can usually see very much what's going on, but it's not my place, to tell them, this is your
Yeah.
problem, you need to fix it.
Yeah, no, I
It's
love
nothing
that.
like that. No.
I love that. I love that. So I would not hesitate to say that you also use some intuitive skills in this sort of work.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
So, for me, that has developed quite a lot over the last years, and through the time when I was caring and helped my parents and my sister to transition, I gained a new relationship with the upstairs guys, and
Right.
and I often get downloaded with lots of info and yeah, sometimes as we're doing a session, I'm definitely getting told things,
Yep.
and I use them, I guess, to help that person, but not coming straight out and telling him.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Fascinating. So what else? What else? So, you've transitioned onto your online. Actually, when did you have your first online course run?
Well, I pretty much did. As soon as I finished it, I had
Yep.
the people who were in Cairns that wanted to do the
Yep.
workshops. They signed on. I had a lady in America.
And that's
Another.
what I think is so important, because I see you on social media. I know when your courses are coming out, and I see people and their interest in it. And I love that, and I'm sure you do as well, that uh, not having to go to a room and be in a particular place at a particular time
Yeah,
really frees everything up, doesn't it?
it does, and it's actually been the biggest blessing, I guess, for me in all of this is that I've realised, I can now share holistic pulsing, even the basic principles behind it, and give people a little bit of instruction on how to use it and how to do it, and then if so it's just a much wider reach. I can go
Yeah.
all over the world now from here and teach people about it. So it's
How
been a
exciting.
share it wide and far and introduce people to it. So yeah, it's great.
So, what's your future vision for your business with regards to what you're just now talking about? Are you starting to
Well,
think about gathering all the people who've done it into a retreat in Bali or something like that?
yeah, definitely. We've been talking about that for a few years of having like a big pulsing convention wherever, in Bali, if that works. But
Yeah.
I'd love to. There's quite a few people around the world who do pulsing, and
Yep.
The originator took it to New Zealand where there's a school. She took it, brought it to Australia. She ended up back in Israel, her home country, with a big institute there. So there's a lot of people in Europe who've done it and that. So there's quite a big community, but not so much, you know, it's not so well known yet. So
yes, yeah, fantastic. I'm fascinated by it. I can't wait to watch you over the next year or two to see where you take it all. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I've got no idea. Like I said, when I did this course, I thought, as I was doing it, I was almost writing it as I was doing it, and I was like, oh, okay, oh, I need to do this, so I do add a bit extra, and somehow it just worked out perfectly. And the people who came through the first one, they just loved it, and I was encouraged by their feedback, and yeah.
Fantastic. I love it. You also have something called an SOS workshop.
Yeah.
I mean, SOS, we all know what that means, but tell me what it means for you and what that looks like.
Well, this is like it's a 6-week online course, and I first called it Self-Love, and I just called it that because I just needed a name, and that's what it was a little bit about. And but it never felt like that was the right name, and didn't really describe what was happening in the course. So a few weeks back, when I was at my daughter's out in the bush, because I've been couch surfing around for the last few months, but I just came up with this idea. I thought, SOS, it's like sort out shit or sort out stuff. If you
I like it. I like sort out shit.
Yeah,
I don't
know about shit, but that's what it is. You know, it's like sort out your shit.
Yes.
So you know, obviously SOS has lots and lots of acronyms for for lots of things, but
and so there's some self-care stuff included in there. But what else is there?
There's like so, you know, what I guess I'm saying to people, and this has been a big thing that's come from my own growth in this time, is you know, for many years now, I've been trying to make myself better. You know, so I've done lots of stuff. You know, and suddenly in my 60th year, I've realised, I'm actually okay as I am. I don't need to make myself better as such, but obviously I still want to grow and change and do things like that. But you know, there's this underlying thing that says I'm not okay if I'm trying to do courses all the time to make me better.
I must, yeah, that's right. There's a kind of a lack thinking behind that, which is that I'm not yet enough.
I'm not
so
there.
I need to know more. I need to learn more. I need to have more certificates and all of that. Yeah, absolutely. And that's so prevalent in the world. And I mean, certainly it was for me as well.
So, you know, through that process, through my own process, I suddenly thought, well, you know, I don't need to tell people to love themselves. You know, what I need to do is help people to sort through some of the shit when it comes up, so that they can move through and keep going, you know. So we all have, well, most of us, I'm pretty sure, have some negative core beliefs that we gathered along the way, and then we live our life by them. So all those things you just said, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I don't deserve this, you know, and it's very much like a tape inside our head without us really knowing it's going, and we're living our life, you know, by these
unconsciously or asleep.
Very limiting beliefs. So I just developed this course, I think, to help people have an understanding of some of those beliefs, give them some tools to help change them. And then also, you know, look at a few of the other things like our inner critic and boundaries, our body image, and then making plans and goals for the future. So, you know, that's what we cover in that 6 weeks. And
love it.
Yeah.
And where can people find out more about that particular workshop? Because I just think that's so needed right now?
At the moment, it's still on my website as self-love, and I haven't changed that
It's
yet.
okay. We'll pop a link into the where we share this. We'll make
Yeah.
sure that there's a link there for anybody who wants to jump in and get to know themselves a little bit more and perhaps bust through some of that disempowering belief systems and things like that. Fantastic. So what's
So,
next for you? Oh,
well,
sorry.
so what I was going to say is
Yeah,
that I use my own growth as my impetus to push me forward to develop things. So
yeah.
as I learn something, I want to share it. And uh, I've just entered my 60th year. I was supposed to have a big birthday party in Bali, but that didn't happen. So
Well, you're not 60 then, are you? It's next year, obviously, or the year after, whenever it is that you can do that.
maybe, but no, I'm okay. I'm all right with being 60. I feel like
Yeah, I know.
I've used my wisdom and I feel all right about it. So I think that definitely, as stuff happens for me, then I share it, and it's, that's like I never put myself above anyone else and say I know it all, or I'm, know how to fix you, or any of that stuff. It's like, let's go on the journey together.
Yeah, it's a sharing of your experience. And you know what? I actually love the aging process, and I think it's really important. I just want to divert back to that conversation because I think it's really, really important that we do start talking about, oh my God, I love myself more than I've ever loved myself. I finally realized that I'm okay. And that happens for
Yeah,
most of us as we start to let go of needing anything from anyone outside of us, because we kind of just move into this place of, I don't give a F about what anyone thinks of me or about doing what's right, what other people consider to be right, and not doing what's considered to be wrong. I'm just going to be me. You just step into this place of being just so much your own self. It's such a freeing thing, and obviously I'm in that process as well, as we
yeah,
all are. But I think it's really important that we talk about it
yeah,
for anyone younger, because I know what it's like, and I'm sure you do as well. As you
yeah,
get to 30 and then you're heading towards 40, and you start to think, oh my God, my life's nearly over. And then you realize when you get to 55 and 60, oh, there's so much more. And
just
it's
beginning.
so much more fun now, right?
Yeah. And, I also have daughters who are, all in their 30s now. So, I watch them go through similar stuff that I went through. And, the beautiful thing is that I've actually, and I'm so proud of myself for this, but I've given them the tools to work through that stuff. And so as I see them actually working through it, where I was very much stuck in it at that age, and took me a few years more of work and stuff to unravel it. But they've
Yeah,
watched me do that, and so it's given them a great role model to show that you can, but it's also given them the tools for them to do it themselves. So
yeah,
it's
I
really,
love that.
yeah,
Absolutely love that. To,
yeah,
looking back from where I am now, and perhaps for you as well, it's like, wow, I wish I'd had these tools. I wish I'd had this wisdom back there. I
mm,
wish I could see the future, even though
yeah,
we can. I wish I
yeah,
could have seen the future and realized that, you know what, you get through. You
yeah.
get through whatever it is.
That's the thing, It's like, and I think that's for young people. They can get a bit caught up in that there's no future, and they don't see the bigger picture sometimes. So, being able to help them through and show them that there are ways through. I always say there's always some answer to every problem, if that's what you want to call it. But
Absolutely.
there's always a way, and you just got to find the right way, and not get stuck in the uh, well, in the negativity. And I think that's part of what my course does, is help people to sort of unravel some of that stuff in their head, you know.
Yeah, beautiful. So as we
Yeah.
start to wrap up, I do want to ask you if if I if I asked you to talk to me just about one thing that people could do to start to unravel the BS belief systems
Yeah.
that are holding them back, what would be your number one recommendation?
Well, that's an interesting question.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but just pull it
Right.
through.
So, well, one thing that
You know
just
the stuff.
one thing that came up as you were talking was the word self-responsibility. And what I notice in a lot of people around me and just generally in the world is that people don't want to take responsibility for themselves and their behaviour and their actions. And they'd
Oh,
much rather blame someone else or, you know, put it out there, oh, well, you know, because of this, da-di-da-di-da, you know, make an excuse. And so, you know, when I think I was doing lifeline counselling when I was probably in my 30s, and I suddenly realised, oh my God, I'm only responsible for me and what I do, and not my father, not my brother, not my, you know, anyone else who's done stuff in my life. I'm not responsible for what they did. I'm only responsible for what I did.
yeah.
And, you know, taking that first step into self-responsibility is quite huge, but it's
It's
the
a big
most
step.
freeing thing that you can do, you know.
It's a big
Yeah.
step, but it's also a step. I think, just from the experiences that I've had and the experiences that I've helped others to have, and also that I've witnessed. It's one of the hardest things to step into,
Mm.
taking complete responsibility for yourself, because it's so much easier
Yeah.
to find some circumstance out there or some group of people or some person like your mother or your father or your brother or sister
Yeah, yeah.
who did you wrong.
Right.
So it's
Well, you know, as soon as as soon as you realize that very thing, that you know, it also means that you might have to take responsibility for some of your behavior and your actions, you know, like if you're drinking too much, you might have to stop, you know. So people don't want to, they find it scary because they will have to change their lives. And then what does that mean? You know, the
who
fear of,
am I without that crutch of
yeah,
alcohol or of always blaming someone else for something
yeah,
that's happening? Who am I without that?
yeah, that's right. How will my life look, and what will I do, you know, and how will I be? And so,
Scary
you know,
stuff.
it's big, yeah, and it's like a big bubble that, you know, people are like, oh, I don't want to even burst that bubble just a tiny little bit. So invariably, and again, I can talk from experience, you know, it's sometimes much easier not to feel than to feel, you know. And so,
Yes.
you know, we're very good at putting up our barriers and not letting people in, or not really being honest about how we feel. I notice, like when I share on social media my real feelings, if I'm feeling down, that I get a lot of people wanting to make that better, you know, so I tell them, you know,
That's a very good point.
yeah, I don't need you to make me feel better. I just need to express this and to share it. And
Yes.
um, and I think, yeah, that's, you know,
Oh,
we,
I love that.
us as helpers and carers, you know, you want to fix everything up. So it's a big lesson I've learned in my life is not to step into other
Not
people's,
to rescue, but rather
yeah,
to support, hold the hand, I
yeah.
guess.
So I try to do that by sharing myself and then sharing that sentiment so that people understand that it's okay to not feel good all the time, or to not be happy all the time, or to not whatever, you know, you just are what you are. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And so you're back now in your hometown of Lismore, as you mentioned. What are you enjoying about that?
Well, all my old friends. So, you know, my friends are all very, very happy that I'm here.
I'll bet.
Here and back. And so I've had lots and lots of visits with them. But yeah, I guess the familiarity of being here, you know, I was here for 20, 30 years. So there's a certain comfortable feeling of just being at home, and that's extended into me, you know. One thing I realised not having my own space was how much that is important to me, and and how much I need it to feel okay. So
so has it changed your I'm going to say wish list, but that's not what I mean. I mean your desires for what you want for your life moving forward.
Look, I'm very go with the flow sort of person, and you know that's I think one of my great things is that I can adapt to change very easily, and in fact I sort of love it. I'm a Gemini, so if it gets boring, you know, it's like but, you know. So you know, people always say, oh, you just sold everything and moved to Bali, and you know, you did this, you're so lucky, and do that, and I'm like, well, you know, I've created that because that's what I wanted, and that's what I wanted to do. So it wasn't all easy, and I definitely put in a lot of hard yards over the years, but you know, we can create our life, you know, and if you're feeling powerless and like you can't make changes, then, you know, maybe coming and doing my 6-week course will help you to gain some power. And
absolutely, I'm sure it would.
And yeah,
fantastic. So Michelle, thank you so much for joining me. I've actually truly enjoyed this conversation and getting to know you a little bit more. Is there anything that you would like to add before we finish up? Any one piece of wisdom that you'd like to share?
Another piece.
Yes. Oh, look, you've shared so much, I know that. But often what I find is that there's always one little thing that an interviewee wanted to share that we actually have gotten caught up in so much conversation that it hasn't been shared. And of course, if there isn't one, that's absolutely fine as well. Actually, I do want to know one thing.
Yeah.
When this thing that we're going through throughout the world that's called COVID, of course, when it's finished, what's the first thing you're going to do? When you're allowed to touch people again?
Every day, you know, like I always say that it doesn't matter where you are, you take yourself with you. So I just continue on doing what I'm doing, and you know, each day is a new day.
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
I don't have a real big sort of long plan, but obviously if I can get back to Bali at some point, that'd be great, because I've still got a heap of stuff over there, and yeah, but generally, you know, I just take each day as it comes, and live each day. And
beautiful.
You know, I think yeah, I don't know if I have any more wisdom to share.
I'm sure you have heaps of it, but we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for sharing this time with us. And I do love actually that we ended it with you saying, you know, I just live day by day. I just do what you're in, that flow. And that's a beautiful place to be. So, and thank you to all of our viewers for watching. All the details to connect with Michelle will be here somewhere for you. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. Bye.
Join the Enlightened Changemakers community on Facebook for uplifting posts, fun and informative conversations, live video trainings, and so much more every single day of the week.